done a video on this track, The Heist, but I decided to delete it and redo it because after the video went onto YouTube, Dean Wells in Teramaze commented saying a lot of the things I said were wrong. Not my opinions. He didn't say that. He says I'm entitled to my own opinion, which is very mature of him, and he welcomes different opinions, so that's very good of him. It was basically just the facts I got wrong. Not that I made up lies, not that I made things up. It was just basically the information I had. I kind of presumed things and pieced things together, but I kind of came to the wrong conclusions. That was kind of it. Which is an easy mistake. I didn't mean any harm in it. I'm sure Dean is aware of that. So where did I go wrong? Well, I went wrong in a few places, which I think is pretty excusable how I kind of got there. I think it's an easy mistake to make, but I will say what I did wrong. I'm not going to try and hide it. So what's happened is they've released this song, The Heist. It's a new song. When I saw that this came out, I was pretty confused because they released their latest album, Are We Soldiers, early this year. And this is a brand new track. So I was kind of like, why is there such a new track so soon after the release of Are We Soldiers? So I went onto their Facebook and I saw some posts saying that Brett has left the band yet again, and they got Nathan back into the band, who was the lead singer for Her Halo. And I was seeing posts of talking about the Heist, saying it's coming soon, and there was other posts saying sequel to Her Halo, with other song snippets. So I have them talking about the song The Heist with Nathan. I also have them talking about this other track, which is a sequel to Her Halo. So I kind of assume that they're making an album and everything. And this is the first track, and there is another track, and the band are getting quite excited because they've got Nathan back. And Her Halo was the best received album they have ever had. Nathan is a sorely adored vocalist of the band. When Are We Soldiers came out, the fans were pretty upset that it just kind of wasn't Her Halo and it wasn't Nathan singing, and they all say Brett is great and everything, but we prefer Nathan. I think that is a little kind of hard on Are We Soldiers. Are We Soldiers is seriously a fantastic album and is definitely going to be in my video for the top albums of the year, and it's probably going to make it into the top 5. I think it's that good of an album. So I don't like the fact that it gets such a hard time just because it isn't Her Halo and it isn't Nathan. I think Brett is an unbelievable singer. He is insanely talented. But yeah, these are my mistakes. I kind of assumed Are We Soldiers has just come out. They're immediately going in writing new music just soon afterwards, without kind of letting Are We Soldiers kind of settle and come out of that writing mindset that is Are We Soldiers, because it's just so soon after. They're still going to be in that kind of mindset of that album. I also kind of found it weird that they seem to be rushing another album. And this is where I got things wrong. So what I got wrong was Are We Soldiers, even though it did release early this year, apparently, according to Dean, he said he actually wrote that album a few years ago, but the record label they are with doesn't actually kind of release things immediately for some reason, because I just kind of guess the metal community, and Dean also said Teramaze don't make a huge amount of money. I guess the record label has just been really kind of stingy with them because metal isn't really a very popular genre and isn't took very seriously. So yeah, I'm really kind of shocked by that, because Teramaze, I think, are an incredible band which release different albums every single time, and they are masterpieces every single time. So going somewhere completely different, they seem to just nail it every time with no problems. So I find it really weird that Dean did come out and kind of say they don't make a lot of money off of Teramaze, and the fact that the record label doesn't just kind of try and get their music out there as fast as they can because it is such great music. But yeah, so basically, Are We Soldiers was written a fair while ago. Going in to write the heist as well as this, the other stuff, it has been a while later. So it has had its kind of settled period because it's been a few years since. As for saying about the kind of album and things, I've come and assumed that. So I did make an assumption that was what was happening. And people can say you shouldn't make assumptions if you don't know, but I kind of got these informations. I thought I was accurate, and yeah, I should have made the assumption, I guess, but all I had to go off was Facebook. Now people say you could talk to the band. Dean even has also said you can ask us things. One, I don't have Facebook. I don't have any social media because I think they're toxic places. Also, even if I did, a lot of bands don't really communicate with the fans. So the fact that Dean actually welcomes people to talk and ask questions and likes that conversation, I think is really, really great. I appreciate the band a hell of a lot more with the fact that he likes and talks to his fans and people and answers questions. I think that's fantastic. But I kind of just assumed they will have a flood of comments, that it's going to be quite hard to kind of get answers, and again, I don't have social media. So there is a sequel to Her Halo, but it's just one song. So because Nathan has come back, they've just kind of released the song The Heist, which is just this kind of fun song just to kind of show what they sound like now, and Nathan in 2019, and what it's like after Her Halo. It's just a one-off fun song that they wanted to do just for fun. They made it for themselves, not really to make money, or I guess they did make it for the fans as well. It's not like, oh, we're not making anything for the fans, we don't really care, it's just for us. That's not the case, but they make music that they enjoy, and the fans are fans of the band because they enjoy what they do, so obviously we have things in common with them, unless you wouldn't be a fan. So that kind of happens kind of naturally, I guess. So The Heist isn't the sequel. The Heist is its one and only track. The sequel to Her Halo is again just a one-off track and is a sequel, so there is no album. The Heist is its own little thing, just having a bit of fun and showing off Nathan. And then there'll be another track coming out later, which is like 23 minute epic track, which is going to be a sequel for Her Halo. But it's not an actual album, so they're not making an album that is just, a replica of Her Halo. So I got all this wrong. There is no kind of album coming out immediately after. There's no album coming out this year, so they are going to have Are We Soldiers, kind of run its course, which I think is great. And just releasing the one-off song, The Heist, is a lot better. I was a bit kind of disappointed that they're writing music so soon after Are We Soldiers, and they're making an album so soon as well, and it's going to be a sequel, and a few problems. Obviously, all that's not true, so just clearing that out. So, Are We Soldiers was written a few years ago. There is no album sequel to Her Halo. It's just going to be a one-off song. The Heist is also a one-off song. So that was my problem, so I've deleted that video and have corrected that here. So, as for The Heist, as I say, Nathan is back, Brett is gone, which I know a lot of people are going to be very happy that Nathan's back. I don't have too much of a problem with this. Like, Nathan is a fantastic singer. Her Halo, he had a very unique voice compared to a lot of other kind of metal artists. He was very different, which made him really stand out. I did have a hard time with Her Halo for that fact that he is so unbelievably different, and I am not used to that. It took a lot of listens for me to get accustomed to that style, as well as musically it was quite mature and musical and different. And I'm kind of the mindset of really heavy metal. So with Her Halo being very kind of melodic and things and very mature in sound, it took a bit of time, but now I really appreciate it. That album is unbelievable. It has unbelievable source and beauty and emotion, and it is a very well-crafted, well-structured album. It's unbelievable. As for Brett, I also really like him. Are We Soldiers? I think he sounds phenomenal. The vibe they were going for, he puts that into his voice. Esterotic symbolism, I can never fucking pronounce that, so I'm really sorry, I can never do it. But in that album, he sounds completely different to Are We Soldiers. Even in that album, he goes through so many different moods. So if the song requires a certain kind of emotion, he just floods it into his voice. He has so much range, he puts in so much emotion. Even the album prior to that, he has so much aggression that is never heard anywhere else beside that album. I think Brett is a phenomenal singer with a fuck ton of range and can convey emotion with absolute ease. And then Nathan again is fantastic. So I don't mind. I do kind of find it irritating personally, the fact that they've gone from their first singer to Brett for 2 albums, I believe, to Nathan, to Brett, back to Nathan. I think it's a bit of a kind of roller coaster, and it gets quite tiring. But I know a lot of people are going to be appreciative that Nathan is back. And technically, I'm annoyed that it has only been a short kind of time. I've kind of had Are We Soldiers? This is Brett again. And within a year, for me at least, he's already gone again. So I don't feel I've had enough time to really appreciate him. I have to move on to another singer again. But, yeah, we're here for the heist. So what do I think? Now, I wasn't keen. I did enjoy the song, but I gave it a 6.5. Now, that was obviously kind of because I kind of thought, it's supposed to be a sequel to her Halo. Obviously, the song isn't the sequel. It's the next song that's coming out. I also thought this was going to be an album, and it's coming straight after Are We Soldiers. There is no album coming out. I got that wrong. And Are We Soldiers, even though it did come out this year, it was written a few years ago, so there's no kind of connection there. So my score is going to change. My opinion of the song is going to change a little because of this. So going into it, the song is a lot of energy. It's a pretty fast tempo. There's a lot of very intense riffs in this. The vocals are quite upbeat and everything. There is some melody, which is mostly just in the chorus. It goes into a more melodic kind of nature. You have 2 solos. You have one quick one, which I don't really call a solo myself. I kind of call it a fake out for the actual solo. So yeah, very high energy, fast, intense song with some very intense, really cool sounding riffs. I hear a lot of digital effects in there. Could be wrong, but I do believe they are digital effects. And yeah, there is some kind of melodies and emotion in the chorus, nowhere close to what you get with her Halo sort of level. And then you do get 2 kind of solos. But the problem I kind of have with the heist, even though Dean says Are We Soldiers was written a while ago, and now we're doing the heist, it sounds like Are We Soldiers to me. I'm sorry to say, that is just what I get. I've shown it to a few people I know who do kind of say, yeah, this kind of just seems like a continuation of Are We Soldiers. It's got them kind of digital kind of sound and effects. It doesn't have the 70s kind of vibe to it, which Are We Soldiers definitely kind of sounded like it came out of the 70s, 60s kind of era. The heist sounds modern, but very kind of digital, which, and synthy, which Are We Soldiers kind of had. So even though it is more modern and Are We Soldiers wasn't, it still has reminiscence of Are We Soldiers. So I kind of would have appreciated a little bit more of something new. As for Nathan being back, I don't get anything that's really kind of stand out for him and really iconic, because he's been... The way the music is written for him to kind of sing over, it's in a style that really matches what Brett has done. So Brett has had a style in esoteric symbolism and Are We Soldiers, and then Nathan had an unbelievably different style for her Halo. But yeah, in the heist, Nathan seriously comes across like a Brett replica. And his tone, his voice and everything sounds very close to Brett. If you didn't know that Nathan was in this band, you could probably quite easily mistake it for just being Brett. But yeah, it is Nathan. He sings in the style of Brett. It's the same kind of pattern that Brett uses and kind of tone and everything. When I mentioned this in the last video, Dean did say I write the song and Brett sings. And then even here, I kind of wrote the song for Nathan to kind of sing, so the way he kind of writes just means they sound the same then. But again, it doesn't really kind of change the fact that they do kind of sound very similar. And I do like range from the vocalist, so yeah, Nathan doesn't sound like on her Halo. He sounds different, and I do want to hear the range of a singer. So this is a new range technically for Nathan. It's just I also find an issue that it's a range that is Brett. As for the rest of it, because I'm not kind of thinking in lines, oh, this is the sequel to her Halo, which I had a problem with because it doesn't sound like her Halo, it sounds like Are We Soldiers, which I had a big problem with. I can now appreciate it for just being its own thing. Yeah, it's good fun, it's got great riffs. Nathan does sound great because Brett also sounds great, so even though they do sound both the same, it's just, well, both of them are great singers, so it doesn't really matter. It's just I would like more of Nathan being kind of his own kind of entity and thing than kind of sounding just kind of like Brett, which I have a bit of a problem with. But nevertheless, it's a very fun song, a lot of energy, great riffs, great vocals still. The chorus is great because it does kind of slow things down and goes a bit more melodic. Not as melodic as I want. I would really appreciate it to kind of go all the way towards her Halo kind of melody. As for the solo, as I said, the first one's a fake out. It's just a few seconds. It's very short, and hearing it, I kind of thought, that's it. It's just a few seconds, just some fast kind of whittling, and that's kind of it. And then the song keeps progressing, and I'm getting close to the end, and I was like, that is seriously it. That is terrible. But luckily, the solo came in, and I was like, thank Christ, and it made me appreciate it a lot more because I was just so unbelievably pleased to bloody hear that there was actually a proper solo. So, how's the solo? It's really good. The problem with Are We Soldiers, not that it's really a problem, the solos in Are We Soldiers are all fantastic, but the solos that were in her Halo had so much emotion and beauty and feel to it. It was well written, it was really well played, it had amazingly warm tones to it, it had a great sense of emotion, it flowed beautifully, it had some technical elements to it, but it was just such emotional and impactful solos. And when you don't have things that are impactful and emotional, it's quite hard to kind of connect to these solos. So even though Are We Soldiers definitely had masterpiece and well done solos, her Halo, the solos just were so beautiful and phenomenal and so easily connectable. I find them perfect. As for the heist, it kind of lies in the middle. It has emotion to it, and it definitely has melody. It doesn't go close to where her Halo is, but it's a lot more further in line of that compared to Are We Soldiers. So it lies in the middle. It's not as emotionally driven, but it's not as kind of fun and bombastic as solos could have been on Are We Soldiers. It lies in the middle. It has some great melody. It has some warmth to it, but it doesn't kind of overplay it. It kind of, as I would say, it kind of remains in line of how the song actually is with the heist. So, yeah, the solo, it's not the best I've heard from him, but it is definitely better than probably all the solos off of Are We Soldiers, because it has, again, that great melody, great tone to it. Not as good as her Halo, but it's definitely a lot better and pleasing to listen to. As for the rest of the song, as I said, there's a lot of technical riffs in there, and it's very upbeat, and rappers or people who really like the more kind of aggressive stuff will appreciate this. You do have a melodic chorus, so it does at least kind of break it up from just being a flat out song of bombastic nature, so it's great that it has that kind of break in there, and Nathan can fit more into his, where I think is his best suit, which is melody. I definitely think Nathan is best suited in that area. So I'm glad that does at least come out in this track. That's a great addition and everything, and changes the flow of the song, which is a great thing to do. But again, I can't shake the problem that they include the digital effects. Nathan does sing in the verses and pre-chorus and things and bridge sections a lot like Brett. So it does kind of just seem like this song is slightly a continuation of Are We Soldiers, but again, it wouldn't really fit in the album. So, as I said in the previous video that I did before I deleted, the heist seems like a B-side of Are We Soldiers. It has a lot of things in common, but it doesn't exactly fit, be it why it's a B-side. Because the choruses wouldn't really fit in there. The more modern sound wouldn't fit. It does have the kind of digital synth kind of elements to it that would kind of make it fit quite easily into that album, but with all the rest, it just wouldn't really flow very well if the heist was put into that album. But it does kind of seem like a B-side that just kind of didn't have its own place within that album. So it's kind of put on the outside, and that's what I kind of think of the heist. It sounds very reminiscent to Are We Soldiers, but it is kind of still its own thing. As for vocally, Nathan just sounds pretty much similar to Brett. He's singing in the same kind of way. He sounds the same for the majority of it. The chorus, he comes into his own a bit better, which is fantastic. Solo is great. It is a fun song. It's not connected to any kind of album, and there's some great riffs in there as well, some technical riffs. So just it being its own thing, and I loved the album Are We Soldiers, so of course I do kind of like this. I love Her Halo, so the kind of more Her Halo style solo, I definitely appreciate that a lot more. So rating this, I give it a 7.5 over my 6.5. So 10 points extra just because I'm not connecting this to kind of Are We Soldiers. I'm not really connecting it to it being a sequel to Her Halo. I'm not saying it's now an album, it's just its own little thing. And as for it just being its own little thing, as I've said, the vocals are great. The chorus I like. There's some great riffs in there. It's really a fun, energetic song. It's over 5 minutes, so you definitely get a good length song. The solo is phenomenal. The only problems is basically just the fact that it's just too reminiscent to Are We Soldiers. I'd like it to have distinguished itself a little bit more. But yeah, that is it from me, and I'm sorry and I apologise for making assumptions and jumping the gun and the mistakes I made. So I apologise. But I hope this clears it up, and I'm still being truthful to my opinion, which I should be. And yep, that's it. So I'll see you in the next one, guys. Bye.